So basically what he said, what he make $600
$600
per
mile.
Right.
Mile. Have you ever seen numbers like that on the load board?
I haven't seen numbers like that in a wet dream.
Well, I mean, we could talk about how politics may impact the trucking industry, sure.
Right, definitely.
And we could
it
talk
go
about
hand in hand.
It goes hand in hand.
See, a lot
That's
of people
fair.
don't know because it's a commodity in exchange in the commodities. If you want to know how the trucking industry doing, it go hand in hand with the stock market. So if the stock market is stable and the stock market is thriving, then that means the trucking industry is thriving and the trucking industry is stable.
Welcome to Azigos, where we talk raw, real, and unfiltered about the trucking industry. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But we don't just leave it there. We also empower those ready to lead the future of the trucking industry. So come on into the lounge. That's Azigos, the Truckers Lounge. What's up, KT? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Did you have a good weekend?
Oh, yes, I had a great weekend. You know, we don't want to incriminate myself because, you know, I might get that random next week. So we'll just throw the shades on so I can remain inconspicuous.
Oh, my goodness.
Remain anonymous.
Okay, we will leave it right there, which is why I was able to successfully not use your government name today. Did you notice?
I appreciate that.
Okay, so we are going to jump right into today's episode, which is a little bit different. Today we are doing a reaction podcast episode to an Instagram post that you shared. This Instagram post was a little bit triggering for you, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, because, you know, to me, it give a great example or explanation on what has minimized or subtracted from the industry that I am in and has been in for the last 2 decades.
Okay, well, we're going to jump right into it, and we will have the link to the actual Instagram post in our descriptions because we do want to give credit to the content creater. So you ready
Absolutely.
to go?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to roll the post. Here it is.
What's your today's rate per mile?
Per mile, like 600 per mile.
Okay, how many miles do you travel weekly?
45,000.
And then what's your Friday's paycheck?
1,500 per week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's the Instagram post that we are going to discuss today because it's quite a bit to unpack in this post. I mean, as entertaining as it is, it's quite a bit to unpack. So we're going to start from the beginning. Let's start with the fact that this CDL driver said he makes $600 per mile. I mean, like, really? I mean, that sounds really absurd, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes, absurd is a great adjective of what he just said that came out of his mouth.
Okay.
You know, you can't even play it off with the statement he made.
Okay.
So basically what he said, what he make $600?
$600
per
mile.
Per mile,
Per
right.
mile.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen numbers like that on the load board?
I haven't seen numbers like that in a wet dream. Let's just say that. You know what I mean? I haven't seen numbers like that under the heavy.
Let's keep it PG.
I'm keeping it PG
Okay.
over heavy influence.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
Because what is truly the actual going rate these days on the load board? Definitely isn't 600.
Yeah, right. So a lot of things contributed to the factor, but the genuine consensus is, I guess, keeping it real time. You're looking at, it seems like they want to pay almost like $2 per mile right now.
$2 per mile.
$2 per mile. Like, you give yourself a high five, you can get a broker to give you $3 per mile out,
Okay.
especially, if it's, outside of like a 100-mile radius.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll give yourself a high five if you can get $3 per mile. And this guy right here is talking about he get paid $600 per
Okay.
mile. Yeah.
I mean, if you guys know where you can find $600 per mile, I mean, share it and put it in the comments. You don't have to be selfish about it, but I mean, that is insane. So,
If you getting paid $600 per mile, then you might find me in your bushes in your front yard. I'm gonna have to strong arm you off your MC number.
all right.
Right.
Okay. All right. So let's go to the second part of the video where he says he drives. Get this. Wait for it. 45,000 miles per week. I mean, how can you pull that off with you all's hours of service? What's legitimate?
Right. So let's just give you a simple breakdown.
Okay.
Right. So you got 14 hours to drive 11 hours in a day, right? And you only have, at most you have 7 days before you have to do, of course, a reset. You know what I mean? A 32-hour reset.
Right.
So let's just say if you drove all 11 hours or 6 days that week, you know what I mean? You're looking at 66 hours. And so basically, through simple mathematics, because I'm not a mathematician,
Okay.
I made it through grade school, but I'm not in string, in geometry and, quantitative methods.
Yes.
But I do know that pretty much that's why they call it 60 miles per hour. Right. And so if you have 60 miles per hour and you got 11 hours to drive in a day, what is that? 60, what is that? 600. You're looking at what? Let me do the math. 660 miles a day.
Right.
So that's if everything is everything.
Right.
And so if you're looking at 660 miles a day, and just say you drove 6 hours or 6 days a week. So at best, that means at best everything ran smoothly, no traffic, no congestion, not getting held up at a distribution center or warehouse. At best, you looking at 3,600 per week. 3,600. I didn't say 36,000. And that's and even if you take into account of the super truckers of my day that ran 2 log books. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Taking, I don't want to get into it.
Do I dare ask if 2 log books are legal? Do I dare ask that?
That's beyond the point.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is before the age of technology.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? This is before the digital age.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only illegal if you get caught.
Okay.
Right. So that just was a prerequisite for a serious driver. Yeah, you running 2 law books. Yeah, I put y'all on that. So I come from that era. And at best, they probably running 5,000 miles per week.
Okay.
But this guy said 45,000.
45,000.
45,000. And that's who you competing with, driver.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So those were let's go on to the last part. So the first 2 numbers, let's recap. $600 a mile, 45,000 miles per week. With those numbers, he should be bringing home millions on top of millions on top of millions.
Per week.
Per week.
Right.
But he says that he brings home $1,500 per week.
Is that 1,500,000 or $1,500?
$1,500, $1,500.
Right.
Okay. So the math isn't mathing.
The math ain't mathing, and this guy right here, man, he don't even have the wherewithal to know that if he just brought home $1,500 of meat after them type numbers, then he letting the broker or dispatcher or whoever, he letting them make a pure idiot out of them, a pure fool out of them. And basically, that's the only thing that I feel like accurate about that, you know what I'm saying, that post is that he's getting taken advantage of.
Okay.
But by him just getting taken advantage of, it's making the whole industry get taken advantage of, because this guy is in the pot with us. He's on the low board with us.
Right.
You know, or he has an above board person that is using him to compete against us, the
Right.
common driver.
Right. And, you know, even though we're having a little tongue-in-cheek chuckle about it, it really speaks, like you say, to a larger issue. You know, that there's obviously a disconnect for this truck driver, and the fact that he doesn't know his numbers and he doesn't understand the financial side and the business aspect of, you know, being a truck driver, you know, a carrier. And, you know, that's a real impact on you all's industry as a whole. And there are certain numbers you all should know. Like, for example, you should know your cost per mile to know your break even point. Like, talk about, you know, when you were doing that, like, how did you gauge your bottom line, the lowest you could take for a load?
Yeah, see, there was a time, you know what I mean, when I was doing my negotiation and running my trucking business, that my rule of thumb was I wasn't going to do a load for anything less than what the price of diesel was. So when I say what the price of diesel was, if the price of diesel was $3 per gallon, then that means that at the beginning of my negotiation, per mile, it was gonna start at $3. So of course we know we're not in those times right now because of, you know, political, you know what I'm saying, stances, or, you know, whatever you might have for us that's being able to leverage the industry. But that's what it was. You know what I mean? And so when you competing against a gentleman that don't know anything about the numbers, then of course he don't know anything about how much you should be able to charge when you have things that, like, if you going up a mountain or you delivering to a warehouse that's in the middle of nowhere, or, you know, which makes you have to change how much you charge per hour, because you have to factor in maintenance. I mean, I don't know about you, but small trucking companies, ain't none of them, you know, if you got 1 to 3 trucks, ain't none of us buying brand new trucks. So if you ain't got a brand new truck, you have to be prepared to do regular maintenance on your truck.
Right.
So every load that you do, you know what I mean, part of you factoring how much you'll do that per mile, you have a maintenance part that you taking into consideration.
Right.
You know, and of course, if you going up and down a mountain, or you carrying something that's over 35,000 pounds, that's supposed to make it go up.
Right. Right.
You know, but when you have somebody like this gentleman who's not aware of basic stuff and just throwing out crazy numbers, of course, he don't know anything about margins and what it takes to run your trucking business and be able to remain in business.
Right. And, you know, even though, again, we emphasize, you know, we don't get into politics per se on this podcast, but we know politics impacts every industry.
She doesn't get into politics. I get into politics, especially if you DM me, because I ain't, look, I mean, one thing about it, man, when you work for somebody versus working for yourself, you know, the main thing about the commander-in-chief is it controlling, you know what I'm saying, goods and services. So it go to a whole nother level, you know, when you out here with your own business. You know, it matters who's in office.
Okay, so fair point. But I was just saying that this platform is just really about,
Yeah, it's about the trucking business.
yeah.
And so you can't have the trucking business if
Well, I mean, we could talk about how politics may impact the trucking industry, sure.
Right,
And
definitely.
and we
It
could talk
go
about
hand in hand.
it goes hand in hand.
See, a lot
That's
of people
fair.
don't know because it's a commodity in exchanging the commodities. If you want to know how the trucking industry doing, then it go hand in hand with the stock market.
Okay, yes, this is
It
true.
go hand in hand with the stock market. So
Right.
if the stock market is stable and the stock market is thriving, then that means the trucking industry is thriving and the trucking industry is stable.
Okay, well, there you have it.
What else you want to talk about regarding, us dealing with, gentlemen from different cultures? See, it's really a culture thing
Right.
as well.
Right.
I know I have a certain look about myself. I got a truck driver's look about myself. You know what I mean? That's what I be trying to tell y'all. I'm in it with you. I'm in the trenches. But at the same time, because of me being able to do very well in the industry, and back in the day, I done been around, the different countries. And see, when I say culture, when you go to these different countries, they don't even they highway systems ain't even the same.
Right.
So it doesn't matter if you drove big trucks over on the other side of the world, because you don't have the same your traffic situation. Their traffic situations ain't fluid like ours.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't have the same type markings in the road. They don't have a whole lot of stoplights and, a whole lot of different road conditions based on what we have over here in the Americas. So the culture matters.
Culture matters. Right.
It matters if you competing against a different culture. I'm from the United States.
Right.
So I can't be making $1.50 per mile, you know what I mean? Because my women folk, they want to live by themselves. It ain't gonna be no extended families standing. I can't take short on the money, because it's not you got culture that uses 3, 4, 5 different families staying together and they putting it all in the pot. They can survive $1.50 per mile.
Okay.
But my queen want to have her own castle.
Okay. All right.
So I gotta be able to I'm sorry. It's different. That's culture clashing.
Okay. Got it. Sometimes people get hung up on the messenger rather than the message. And with the current administration, the message has been truck drivers should have an English proficiency. They should be proficient in English. And sometimes people don't understand that message because they're thinking about who's the messenger. But when you look at a post like this and somebody who's from a different culture, who doesn't understand our culture, our roads, our system, who clearly is being taken advantage of based on his responses to those questions.
Right.
Which really hurts the American drivers, right? Is it a bad policy to require English proficiency among truck drivers, especially when you take into account the recent tragic accidents, with truck drivers that happened? Would you say Florida or Arkansas?
Yeah, on the Florida turnpike, but it was a case about a couple of months ago, or about 6 months ago, where it happened in Arkansas.
Right. Again, you had someone from a different country culture who, didn't understand our road signs and caused a very traffic accident. When you sort of begin to take those things into account, is the policy, the messaging around English proficiency, is that a bad thing? Or are you really just hung up off of the messenger? Comment below on what you think about that policy around English proficiency. And especially when you look at that through the lens of this post, where clearly this driver is vulnerable and being taken advantage of, that really hurts the entire system. Because when you think about other industries industries that have opted to using immigrant labor as a way, to drive down company costs, you see, and that being infiltrated in the trucking industry, that doesn't help you all. It actually hurts you all. Wouldn't you say?
Let me just tell you how serious this is, because it's a cause and effect. You follow me? You might feel like it don't have anything to do with you, but it got everything to do with you.
Right.
Because look at it right now. For as you just trying to get pay your premium on insurance, the insurance company tired of paying out. For these damages. You know what that insurance gonna have to pay out with him out there? You know what I mean? When you have these dangerous or high liability drivers out here that's not being caused by, English speaking truck drivers. Cause you gotta understand, man, anybody know who drive trucks, it's a fluid situation. Like the landscape is changing in a second. And so if you got to think about, and it's not mechanical understanding, you got to think about what the sign mean or what the word saying in the construction or whatnot, that makes safety, it becomes very dangerous.
Right.
Of course I'm biased when it comes to the money in the pot, but that's like the macro of the micro. I mean, you tell me, drivers, how many times you don't try to get out of a facility and you have one that don't speak English at the front out in the receiving office. In the receiving office, and he trying to hold the phone up because you got a broker. Know that he can't speak, but they using him because they're more worried about maximizing their profits. So they already know he can't understand, and you trying to have the non-speaking CDL, the truck driver, the CDL driver got to hold up the phone to the lady working in the receiving office so she can maybe understand. He can't even show her, what understand the bill of lading or know,
Right. Okay.
what his number. I know I'm going a little too deep, but
Okay.
I'm just saying it's aggravating.
Right. All right. So, but to bring it back,
And not to mention, he want to block the entrance. All this taken away from my driving time. He want to block the entrance, and he's spending 45 to 50 minutes in the receiving office.
okay.
He, you know what I'm saying? The driver don't even know where it say, big truck, stage over here, over on the right corner of the parking lot. He can't even read that sign. So he blocking up the entrance at the shipping and receiving office.
Right.
And you trying to get in and out of there because you got a 11-hour window and you can't run no 2 logbooks now. Everything recorded on the ELD. And so you got to take extra chances to try to make your money. You already don't got held up on getting loaded or unloaded. And now you got to get held up getting out of facility because you got a non-English speaking, undocumented, blocking up the entrance. And he trying to hold his phone up because he don't really understand the numbers, at the shipping and receiving office.
All right. Okay. So the math ain't mathing. Basically.
And that's what I got to negotiate against on the load board DAT.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for that, KT, for that passion. We appreciate it.
Look, the United States, it shouldn't be no two different signs, one for Spanish and one for English. The trucking industry is not a tourist section. You're not on vacation. It should just be English.
Okay.
It should just be English signs up at these facilities, because if it's just English, because that's all who need to be running in our country, especially if you worry about safety.
All right. Okay. So anything else you want to get off your chest?
There's another little bit I want to get off my
No,
chest.
because
I know we're running short on time, but I want to say one more thing before you wrap up.
If
you gotta
it's not
understand,
about the math ain't mathing,
the math ain't mathing.
I'm gonna need you to hold it to next week.
I want to hold it to next week, but I want to say this. Truck drivers, we are the original truck star. We the rock stars. See, what a lot of y'all don't understand, y'all new drivers, because y'all coming from being a forklift operator, just making $400-500 a week. No, that is not. Doubling that is not what a truck driver supposed to make with the sacrifices.
Okay.
Because it was a time when you went to your favorite entertainment spot or your gentleman's club. Y'all don't know this, but the truck driver used to get in for free. That's how much damage he finna cause in the strip club.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there goes our brand deals. I'm just kidding.
I mean, look, it's the American way. You understand? It's the story of America, right? That's the oldest profession in the book. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is, we got to get back to that, and ain't nobody gonna save us. We're going to have to save ourselves.
All
yes.
right. All right.
It's a reason I got the shades on today.
We have to get back to the math, being able to math. That's the
That's
part.
all part of the mathing, because the original math for the CDL driver is he supposed to be able to take care of 3 or 4 families.
Oh, man.
Ain't no more mathing than that.
All right, then. Until next time, take home message is know your numbers. It's important to know your numbers if you're in the business of trucking.
Right, you got to know the numbers.
Got to know the numbers. All right, signing off. Thank you. Have a good one.
See you later.